Here's Freddy Rodriguez Jr. Yay! Woo-hoo! Here we go! Yes.
All right. If you feel like dancing, the dance floor is open. Just in love and in love. Yeah.
Sing it again, Freddy.
When I open up, my soul is free. There you go. When I open up, my soul is free. When I open up, my soul is free. When I open up, my soul is free. Try and see. Try and see. Dreams. When I open up, my dreams have wings. When I open up, my dreams have wings. Ooh. When I open up, my dreams have wings. When I open up, my dreams have wings. They have wings. They have wings. On the piano solo, Karen Karsh from Boulder Valley. One more time, Karen. Let's hear it for Karen Karsh, everybody on the piano zone. When I open up, my dreams have wings. When I open up, my dreams have wings. Ooh. When I open up, my dreams have wings. When I open up, my dreams have wings. They have wings. They have wings. Try and see. They have wings. They have wings. Open up. Let's open up.
Good morning, Unity on the Avenue. We are so glad to be here today, really glad. And I would like to say what an honor and a pleasure it is to be with Rev Raz. Yes, you're going to love him. And to everybody out in the room who is here with us, and for those who are online watching that way and listening, we're just thrilled that you're with us, and our hearts are all in the same place. And there's just one little thing we'd like to remind you of. We're here to remind you of your magnificence, to help you remember all the wonder that you are, to remind us all the joy we're worthy of, here to remind you how much you're truly loved. Thank you so much. so I know you've been celebrating with Kool and the Gang a little bit, huh? I think we'll do Karen Karsh instead. How's that? I know when to do my own thing and let Kool and the Gang be the cool, because they're the best, right? Here we go. Standing on the edge of the mountain, we're going to celebrate, celebrate. 'Cause we made it to the top of this mountain, we're going to celebrate, celebrate. It's time to have some fun, get partying, here we come. Celebrate, celebrate, yeah. Celebrate, you got it. Celebrate. We've all been through some hard times. We're here to celebrate, celebrate, 'cause we made it through those hard times. We're gonna celebrate, celebrate. Think of all that you've done. Look out, 'cause here we come. We're gonna celebrate, celebrate. Sing that with us. Can you do that? Celebrate. Perfect. Do it again. Celebrate. Perfect. Do it a little louder. Celebrate. Woo-hoo. Celebrate. All right, I'm going up the key. Celebrate. Celebrate. Yeah. Celebrate.
Celebrate,
Celebrate. One more time. Celebrate. 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 We're gonna celebrate.
That was most excellent. This is Karen Karsh and Freddy Rodriguez Jr. Let's give them a hand. They are fabulous. Hi, I'm Donna Lynn. I'm going to give you your announcements this morning, upcoming classes and events. You can go to the website, or you are on our email list, the newsletter, for more details of any of these. And please feel free to take pictures of the slide. Join us for the popular Snack and Chat after services in the courtyard or downstairs, depending on the weather. Gather and share. Light refreshments are provided. Gong Bath with Greg Wilkins is the second and fourth Tuesdays. Next one is August 24th from 7 to 8. Please come join us with a vibrational utopia. Concerts in the courtyard. The next one is Saturday, September 4th. Horizon, which is Maylin and Brandy, will be entertaining us with jazz, rock, and pop from 4 to 6 p.m. Please come. It's a lot of fun. We have a class entitled As Experienced in Beloved Community. It continues until October 25th. Our beloved Doris Hoskins is one who is going to be doing this, and you can contact her directly through her email. On September 11th, we are having a omni-denominational remembrance event. Can you believe it has been 20 years since that life-changing day? It will be here in the sanctuary from 9 a.m. till 10 a.m. Spiritual leaders, Reverend Dr. David, Reverend Christina Jones, and Reverend Jamara will be speakers from professionals affected by it, such as commercial pilots, flight attendants, as well as a firefighter and law enforcement official. Special music by Maylin, Kent, and more to move your soul and lift us all up. The 43rd Annual Park Hill Home Tour and Street Fair is September 12th. We will have a booth. Want to volunteer to be part of it? Contact Joan. Email's on the slide. We have a video for Spirit Expressing 2021.
Well, hello, beloveds. I'm Dr. David Goldberg with an invitation for you to please join us for our annual Spirit Expressing program. This year at Unity on the Avenue, we're going to be exploring the work of Esther and Jerry Hicks in the book Ask and It Is Given, learning to manifest your desires. So many of you are familiar with Abraham Hicks, and we want to take a deeper dive into all things around prosperity and abundance. And after the past year that we've all had, what a wonderful time to come back together in physical community, to get to know old friends better, and to welcome new friends and guests into our community. So this program, Spirit Expressing, is going to be running 7 weeks, September and October. So here are 2 things for your to-do list. First, order the book Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks, a New York Times bestseller. I know you're going to love it. Second, visit our website, unityontheavenue.org, and let us know if you're interested in being a host. Perhaps you can host a small gathering of Unity folks in your home, or a facilitator. If you have those skills and that passion and you'd like to facilitate one of our small groups, either in someone's home or here at the church or online. And most importantly, we'd love for you to join us as a participant and get these dates on your calendar. So once somebody signs up as a host, they get to decide when they want to host that class. So then you'll be able to pick the day and the time and the geographic location that work for you. It's really very simple. Most importantly, it's a chance for us to come together in physical community, do a deeper dive into some amazing work around prosperity and abundance, and support you on your journey as you step into your greater yet to be and co-create the life of your dreams with the divine. Okay, thank you so much. Decide if you want to be a host, a facilitator, or a participant, and order the book. We look forward to being with you soon. You can sign up online or in the sanctuary during service on Sunday. Blessings abound. We look forward to being with you.
We have the joy of having Dr. RAS Smith speak for us this morning. We are anchored in prayer here at Unity on the Avenue. Our prayer chaplain today is Lawrence Coleman. He will lead us with our statement of faith and our prayer reading.
Good afternoon, Unity on the Avenue. Thank you for being with us today. Please join me in the statement of faith. There is one power and one presence in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. And today's reading is from a Unity publication, Dynamics for Living, by Charles Fillmore. And in it, Charles writes, "Love in divine mind is the idea of universal unity. In expression, love is the power that joins and binds in divine harmony the universe and everything in it. Among the faculties of mind, love is pivotal. Its center of mentation in the body is the cardiac plexus. The physical representative of love is the heart, the office of which is to equalize the circulation of the blood in the body. As the heart equalizes the life flow in the body, so love harmonizes the thought of the mind. One should make it a practice to meditate regularly on the love idea in universal mind, with the prayer Divine love, manifest thyself in me. There should be periods of mental concentration on love. Think about love, and all the ideas that go to make up love will be set into motion. And so it is.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. One more time, everyone. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place. We get to do one of our very favorite songs that you will all know, so I probably will be, longing for you to sing. In this moment, in this place, I remember who I am. Letting fear and worry fall away from me, I open my eyes and see there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love.
When I lose myself, when it seems I've lost my way, when I go inside and quiet my mind, I can hear Spirit gently say, there is only love. There is only love. Love that heals, love that sets us free. There is only love. Everybody sing. There is only love. Oh Lord, there is only sweet love. Love that heals, love
Awesome music. Thanks, Freddie, and thanks, Karen. And good morning, everybody. And, it's so great to be here at Unity on the Avenue. What a great name. I love that. I'm Dr. RAS Smith. I was a minister at Mile High Church for about 17 years and had a blast. Dr. Roger Teal was fun to work with, along with Reverend Barry and all of his really great jokes. So it's just when Dr. David asked if I'd be willing to speak today, I said, of course. When is it? Because we travel a lot. And I was in the midst of retiring. I helped Dr. Roger create a phased retirement program for the ministers at Mile High Church. It helped Dr. Lloyd and Dr. Marjorie retire, and I don't think he thought I kept all the paperwork. And I won't tell you what he said when I put it on his desk, but I think I started that in 2016, and I was going to retire in 2019, but that's not quite the way it worked out. So, before I start, I just want to share that I was the interim minister at Unity of the Hills in Austin, Texas. And it's so delightful to have people in the room because this was last July 1st when I started, same time Dr. David started here. And thanks to Dr. David, I am here today because he asked. And I was in town and I said yes. But one of the things that I was doing at Unity Church of the Hills in Austin, because there was nobody in the room. If it wasn't for the 10 musicians and sound people and camera people, I would never have known my jokes were funny. That was really helpful, trust me. And they told me, all you got to do is speak to God. And I said, what? He said, well, that's where the camera is right there, where, there's a quote from Charles Fillmore on the back wall, and just look for the camera. It's right below God, because God's above all. So anyway, what I did there to help get to know some of the congregation is I asked them to send me jokes. And many people would do that, but I loved this one. And there was a pastor who was in the greeting line after the service, and a little boy came up to say hi to the pastor, and the pastor says, so do you pray before each meal? And he thought for a moment, and he said, well, no, my mom's a good cook. Like I said, that was one of my favorites. For some reason, in the middle of Texas, they weren't joking a lot, so I didn't get many jokes, which was a little sad. So anyway, my talk today is the healing power of love, something I've had the opportunity to experience and walk that path the last many years. And thank you, Lawrence. That was a great quote on love. I've never run across that from Charles. When we religious science ministers are in ministerial school, we study all the world's religions, actually, which maybe every minister should do. But it was great. It was great to get to know Charles and Myrtle Fillmore. I even got to visit Unity Village, and that was fun. I was an architect for 30 years before a minister, so it was fun to visit Unity Village and see where all of that was created. I just loved it. So why? Here's what I wanted to share also from Charles Fillmore. He said love is a regenerating power. And regeneration is not possible without love. So think about that. If you're healing from anything, and by the way, the healing power of love works on anything that you want to heal, whatever that might be. And there's, of course, lots of choices to choose from right now. Whatever that might be, thoughts you didn't want to have, or a physical situation, a relationship, any of those kind of things. But he also shared, and this was important to me, that science says that every atom has substance, life, and intelligence. When I was being trained as a spiritual practitioner in religious science, and we learned how to do spiritual mind treatment, which is our form of affirmative prayer, whenever I would do prayers for individuals who would like a physical healing, I would close my eyes and I could go in, I still can, and imagine every cell of their body vibrating from that place of perfect health. And at that very atom level is love. That's what we're born of. That's what the whole universe was created, is to express love. So what is love? And I love Eric Butterworth, always have. I think it was the very first book that I read and led a study group down in Colorado Springs, where we grew up in New Thought. We actually, this is August, right? So it would have been August of 1987. Wow. If I could do math, I would say that's about 34 years. And I just loved Eric Butterworth. It was his spiritual economics book. But this, I don't think, is from that book. But he said love is the actual expression of being loving. So it's a verb. It's vibrating, it's acting. So that's important to remember as we move forward in this talk. 4 years ago, this coming December, it was December of 2017, I had a spontaneous fracture of my left femur. This guy right here. I won't go into any details, but I do have pictures on my cell phone. It was not pretty, and it was unexpected. I was just lifting the blinds in our dining room, and it snapped. Now, that seems a little unusual. I didn't even know there was such a thing as spontaneous fractures, but that's what happened. And, once they brought me to the hospital, which we were living in the foothills at the time, it was one of the most fun rides I'd ever had. Because they gave me some kind of drug that made me feel like I was on a Star Wars spaceship, and I couldn't feel my leg at all, which was good because, anyway, I won't go into that detail. But they brought me to the hospital, and it was actually, as soon as they started repairing the femur, they knew something was wrong and didn't know what exactly. But if you were to, look at a cross-section of your femur, you might have that much free space. And by the way, bone marrow is a fluid. I always thought it was a bone. Why do they call it bone marrow? Well, my femur looked more like this. It had eaten away, and that's why it snapped. Well, that was interesting. The good news of something like that is they did find out I had bone marrow cancer on December 15th of 17. And the good news was, having something like that happen, the fact is they found it at level 1, which if you're familiar with cancer, you can get stage 4, you're a lot further down the row. But I remember in that moment that I didn't feel a lot of fear. It was like, thank goodness I'd been in New Thought for 30 years. And I knew that there was a lot of possibilities that could happen from here. So my thing wasn't, am I going to die? Although that did cross my mind, is what do you need me to do? What's mine to do? And I didn't know what I'm about to share you right away. It certainly unfolded in that way. So that's what I want to talk about today, that healing power of love. And of course, I was trained and mentored by Dr. Roger Thiel, and we affectionately refer to him as the dean of the acronymic university because he's always using acronyms. So love is an acronym besides being a verb. And what does it stand for? It stands for listening with the heart, opening to deep compassion, vulnerability, and embracing the possibilities. And as I prepared this talk, I just thought about what does this path look like? What can I share from my own experience that might be helpful to any of you? So really just starting with that first letter L in the word love stands for listening. Listening with the heart. We often listen with our minds, and I don't know about you, but for the longest time my mind was more like a barrel of monkeys. And to keep on a path that was definite and going to lead to healing, there was going to need to be something different than just the barrel of monkeys. Because left to the barrel of monkeys, you'll be all over the map, right? Well, I loved what Good Samaritan sister Claire Condon said. She said, listening with the ear of the heart can be a scary experience because it can call me to radical change. Trust me, when you break your femur and are told you have stage 1 bone marrow cancer, you're willing for radical change. If you're not familiar with bone marrow cancer, about 10, 12 years ago, it was a 6-month death sentence. That was 4 years ago. Apparently, that's not what's happening here. So I kept listening. And she said, if you listen, you can have a transformation of your limited human perspective. And listening with the ear of the heart is the opening words from the rule of St. Benedict. When I got that diagnosis on December 15th, I was with my wonderful wife here, Tina. Go ahead, Tina, turn around, wave at everybody. She's a big reason why I'm still on the planet today, and I'll say more about that in a little bit. But, when we first heard that diagnosis, it's the first time I realized that, what? I guess you might die, from this earthly plane. And I knew that was a possibility. I'd already watched my parents do it and grandparents and all that, but I thought, me, And granted, in my teen years, I thought I was invincible, but I was older now. But yet it was the first time I realized that was a possibility. And by the way, we're all going to do that at some point. You just want to do it more on your terms, right? But instead of fear, I listened. I listened deeply to what wasn't being said. And often I would have to lean on Tina to ask her, what did the doctor say? What do I got to do? Because I was listening on another level. She said, Sister Claire said this too. She said, this type of listening will empty one's own agenda. And she says, your fear of survival, assumptions, prejudice, what listening with the heart does, and I think we can still do this for a lot of the healing that maybe is in front of us today, is this creates an opening to empty one's mind of preconceived answers and solutions. And, it was interesting to have this diagnosis and have this occur while I was an active minister. I'll kind of speak to that a little bit, but people have these preconceptions and assumptions about what a minister should be like. Anybody here? I kind of grew up with them. I had priests. I had to kind of see through all the stuff to really hear what they were saying. But there's a lot of societal expectations and assumptions, and my God, now you're teaching New Thought and you have cancer. So, anyway, listening with new ears gave me the opportunity to realize that I couldn't do this alone. I'd always been a person, I don't know about any of you, maybe you don't try to do things all by yourself, but what I realized in that first few weeks is I wasn't going to be able to do this alone. I don't know what to do, how to do it. I need to listen. But the very first thing I did, and I highly recommend this if you don't already have one, is enroll a God squad. It's the most powerful thing we can do for our well-being. And my God squad happened to be my colleagues, my family, close friends, and these were people I could lean into and just say, hey, you know, I'm going to the doctor today. I just need you to pray for this or this or this, or I'm having a tough day today. If you could hold me in the light. So if you don't have a God squad, now's a great time to get one. I wouldn't wait until, you know, there's an emergency. As an architect, I used to love to go to the planning department, and they had this thing behind the counter that said, your lack of planning is not my emergency. Well, that's kind of the way life is, you know? The fact that you're here, you come to this beautiful place called Unity on the Avenue, that's preparation. You know, there's nothing like having your own spiritual experience to kick off your week. You know, next week I'll talk a little bit about a whole nother part of my life, but for the longest time I thought the best church was St. Mattress on Sunday mornings. Because I was often up very late on a Saturday night into Sunday morning. I didn't even know there was such a thing as, you know, early morning on a Saturday. So that's just a peek into next week. All right, the second letter in the word love, my acronym today is O, and it's opening to deep compassion. Compassion. You know, willingness to understand what somebody else is going through, or, by the way, yourself. You know, I noticed that in the deep pain of the first 14 weeks, which, by the way, feels so far in the rearview mirror, but as I was preparing this talk, I went, wow, yeah, that was a lot to go through. And, you know, trust me, chemotherapy, for anyone here who has loved ones or you've experienced it yourself, it sucks in a deep way. And you know what? To have family and the willingness to have a God squad and everybody around me to lift me up during that time was really good, because you lose control of your body. It's not doing all the things you're familiar with, let's put it that way. And so to be going through 14 weeks of deep chemo and healing a fractured leg, it was like I went in those, I remember Christmas of 17, I was in a wheelchair over to the side as part of this big mile-high Christmas Eve service, and I'm in my wheelchair with a microphone, and then it was like it evolved, you know, from the wheelchair to a walker. I remember doing the wheelchair and seeing Hamilton downtown. That's back when you could still go to the theater, which is coming back, by the way. Speaking of the theater, we went to the movie theater yesterday, and it was a special screening just for us. It was just me and Tina for the longest time. So if you're wondering, you know, crowds, that's not happening. But two people did walk in on us and sat down front, so I guess it wasn't private. But I just remember a picture of being at Hamilton in the wheelchair, and then what it was like to move up to a walker, and then crutches, and then a cane, and now. Whew. And you know what made the difference during all of that is caregivers. You know, the people that you love in your life and that make a difference for you. I mean, when you know what, Tina and my boys, our oldest son had just moved back from China. I mean, literally just months before this experience. And between him and Tina, I got to all my doctor's appointments because Trust me, we'd have to start preparing to get into the car 15 minutes before we had to leave, because it took a while. And I could not fall. That was one of the things my doctor told me. He says, whatever you do, don't fall. So I kept that in mind. And for the longest time, they had this little bracelet. You know, you get him in the hospital, fall risk, you know, kind of a thing. I was that, for sure. And but caregivers, Tina and my oldest son, Zach, they would go to the grocery store and get food. And if you're not familiar with chemo, what things taste like change every day. You know, what was working yesterday and you bought a whole bunch of it, it's like, I don't want any of that. You know, but the most disappointing thing I have to say, for the longest times, M&Ms were fabulous. And one day I woke up and I had a handful of M&Ms and they tasted like metal rivets. Not that I would know what a rivet tastes like, but that's what it tasted like. It was metallic, you know. And but you know, the caregivers in my life, Tina and our boys, and my God Squad. I mean, that, you know, opening up for that kind of compassion was huge. I was always one of those kind of people who would just do it myself. Thank you very much. I can do it. But here, I thought, was the you know, with very little mobility, and it was a little bit like quarantining before quarantine was cool. I was in the master bedroom and the bathroom for those whole 4 months, except for when I had to go to the doctor. And that gets kind of boring, especially with an architectural mind. And I so wanted to eat all the food you all were eating. I would flip on the television, watch all the ads for restaurants. Oh, torture. But, you know, I thought Eric Butterworth summed up what that experience looked like with this quote. He said, and it's from Practical Metaphysics, if you haven't read that, it's an excellent book. I read it while I was down in Austin. Intuitively, within ourselves, we know that love is an inner power. And it's not an object. That our need is not to be loved, but rather our need is to love. Within every person, there is a hunger and a thirst to express love, to radiate love, to get ourselves in tune with the cosmic flow at the root of our being, to simply plug in, turn the lights on, and to express out of the overflow of the inner love a lovingness toward life. You know, that's what was happening for me, because, by the way, when you quarantine like that for 4 months, you got lots of time. You know, lots of time to pray and to meditate and to let in the support that you're receiving. Well, while I was going through all that, it became clear that the biggest thing I needed to do is have compassion for right here. You know, to let go of people's assumptions of what a minister should look like and how we shouldn't, all the shoulds. You ever been should on before? Yeah, that's kind of what it felt like. And, you know, I finally realized that, you know what, I'm just another human on the planet. One of the things I used to always say, this is from Fire Sign Theater, those of you who remember that sort of theatrical stuff. One of the favorites, well, there was two. I loved the show they did on the book, I'm Okay, You're Okay, except they did I'm Okay, You're a Jerk. And the other one was We're All Bozos on This Bus. You know, we haven't totally figured it all out yet. We're still learning. And, you know, my favorite therapist, when I was going through recovery, Pat Perrette, she was the first person ever to look me straight in the eye and say, Raz, you are full of it. And I went, hallelujah! Finally, somebody can see through the disguise. And this is what she told me. It stuck with me then. It's still real today. He says, Raz, you are awash in a sea of love. and you drink with a thimble. What I can share with you is I've learned how to get a bigger bucket to let it in. But I still remember the days when either Tina and the boys or the God Squad would show their compassion and love for me. But it really struck me when I got these love notes from the 300 practitioners at Mile High Church. Whew. You know, to just let all that in. Just imagine letting all the love in. Any sort of dis-ease is what starts to evaporate, starts to move away from your experience, and that's when the healing really begins. You know, that and having a Power of 8 group. Reverend Kay Johnson had started this. Lynn McTaggart kind of started she wrote the book Power of 8. But we had, one of those in the living room, and 8 people were in the room and told me what they saw about the healing that was going to be taking place, or is taking place, or had taken place. And I could feel it. I could even feel, and this is where it gets a little woo-woo, the people that had gone before me coming through me, telling me, you got this. One of my closest friends had died not but a year or so before me, and he even spoke up and said, you got this, Raz. You know this stuff. So move on. You'll be a great example for other people. The letter V in love, I think, was the toughest one for me at first. And yet I have learned, certainly over 20 years now in the ministry, and that is vulnerability. Vulnerability is something I was so afraid of. I thought if I would be vulnerable, I would get hurt. What I realized is vulnerability was the wall that kept the sea of love at bay. So what I needed to do is learn how to be more vulnerable. Trust me, when you got big chemo coursing through your veins and no control of your body, you are vulnerable. And once I finally realized that, I think the healing really started to happen. Mark Nepo said this, one of the most painful barriers we can experience in the world is the sense of isolation that our modern world fosters. Thank God for the internet and live streaming over the last year and a half. It has kept a lot of us, together. That's awesome. But now it's time to get together. It's time to see each other and do some hugs and that sort of things. And he goes on to say that isolation can only be broken by our willingness to be held, by the quiet courage to allow our vulnerabilities to be seen. For as water fills a hole and as light fills the dark, kindness wraps around us as a softness that can be seen. So admitting what we need, asking for help, letting our softness show, these are prayers without words that friends, strangers, wind, and time can wrap themselves all around. One of the most painful experiences of bone marrow cancer is something they discovered, and it's why I'm here. I talked to a guy who was part of the initial study. This would be 10 years ago now. But they had just discovered it. And that is, they discovered they could do a stem cell transplant for bone marrow. This is considered a blood cancer. We actually have a niece who has leukemia, another blood cancer, and she had a transplant. Well, the most painful thing is taking the 15 million stem cells right out of here. I remember Tina driving us down to the hospital, because they had given me some drug that preps you, and until they take out the 15 million stem cells, it hurts. The good news, they only needed 7 million of them for my transplant. So the other 7 million are in a freezer at St. Luke's Presbyterian downtown, and as long as nobody trips over the cord that keeps that freezer working, I can use them until I'm 92. If I need another one, I don't think I'm going to, but that was good to know. But you know, the fact that they could do it was amazing to me. It's what saved my life and a whole bunch of other people that have gone through this. 12 years they figured it out. So I'm not afraid of modern medicine. I cheer them on. It just takes time. It takes time to figure stuff out. And of course, right after all of that, speaking of being vulnerable, Dr. Roger calls last May when we got back from our trip, and we were only 2-3 months into COVID, and he goes, "How would you like to be the interim minister in Austin, Texas?" And I'm going, okay, I'm immunocompromised, and I'm going to go to Texas and be in a Unity church. I loved it. It was a gas. There was only 10 people in the room, never got COVID. I got pneumonia instead. Just because it was possible, I guess. And I had a compromised immune system. So that was kind of the end of my 2 months in Austin, but I really did love it. And I'm connected with those people. I can't wait to go through on our way to Florida, because we go to Florida when it's winter around here. That's what you can do when you retire, by the way, is get out of the winter. I love that part. Last letter, I gotta move in. Gotta keep moving. E is for embracing the possibilities. Here's the good news. Unity, religious science, all the different new thought teachings all teach us about possibilities. So when I said I didn't experience fear, it's because I knew there were other possibilities. I loved Amit Goswami. He was my favorite teacher. He wrote all sorts of books on quantum physics. I had no idea they were going to train us in quantum physics in a ministerial position, but I loved it. He used to say, consciousness is the ground of all being. Consciousness is the ground of all being. So, what I did is each morning and each night, and this is still out there, I put it on my phone, my iPad, I would listen to this Joe Dispenza meditation every day. It was the morning meditation and the evening meditation. And I loved it because I could set my intentions for the day. And the really good part about it is the evening meditation started with forgiving yourself for the intentions that you set for the day and forgot all about. Anybody else? Yeah, exactly. But the one that has really stuck with me, and I got to introduce Joe 3 or 4 times at Mile High Church. I got to know him pretty well. And I said, Joe, you got to make your books thinner. These really thick ones, I said, here's how much I can teach from that book. It was like the first little bit. Otherwise, I got to have all, quantum physicists in the room, which, by the way, I would have a few show up occasionally. But here's the one I loved the most. And it was in the evening meditation. I'm going to say this a couple times. He said, no longer live from the memories of your past. Instead, be defined by the visions of your future. I'll read that again. Just gives me goosebumps every time. No longer live from the memories of your past. Instead, be defined by the visions of your future. I remember when I was laying in bed, I couldn't move a lot. I would imagine our grandkids graduating from high school. And that's what got me through. It was a vision of the future. I want to be able to see my grandkids graduate from high school. Well, that was 4 years ago. They're turning 6 and 4 here shortly. But I've already changed my vision of the future. Now I want to see them get married. And I want to meet our great-grandkids. We have fun with our grandkids. By the way, if I'd have known how much fun grandkids were, I think we'd have just skipped having kids and gone right to grandkids. Because you can drop them off, that kind of stuff. It was great. So I began envisioning a life beyond cancer. I have not had cancer in my body from bone marrow since April of 18. That's 3.5 years-ish. Yeah. And I have things that are uncomfortable, but I wasn't ready to leave the planet yet. I know a lot of people are dying to find out, but I shared that joke the other day. It wasn't good then either. In any event, I just envisioned what it would be like to be retired. While I'm laying in the hospital on July 1st, 2018, in the middle of my transplant was my retirement day. And I remember I had more wires on me then than I have right now. But I just remember going, woohoo! And it was much later that year because I remember one night I was practicing a talk I was going to give in August. This was July. And the night nurse came in. And he goes, I thought I heard you talking to somebody. I go, well, kind of. I have a sermon to give in August, and I was just practicing. And, that was like 2 weeks from the transplant. And I did do that. I had to sit in a chair and all that. But, the vision has evolved even more. Now Tina and I, we have lots of travel plans. We travel a lot. Our grandkids are growing up. Our son is about to get a job in London and move to Europe, which will be great, much easier to visit him there than Beijing. That was a long, long plane ride. So it'll be nice to be able to do that. But these are tools, and I'm just going to repeat them, that you can use for anything. It doesn't have to be cancer, although, by the way, you have a book in the back of the room that says Never Alone, Facing Cancer with Faith. And I leafed through it real quick. I'll leave it. But if ever you're going through it, just know you're not alone. Love and faith and hope is not a word we use a lot in New Thought, but those are all really good words. When you don't have any hope, it's hard to let the love in and the possibilities. So I leave you with these 4 things. I think it's going to come up here. I'm pretty sure if they already did. Oh, there they are. Listening with the heart, letting it in, opening to deep compassion, not just for others, but for yourself, especially for yourself. You might even do that first. Vulnerability. You saw me get emotional a few times, and this is 4 years ago now. I just feel it. It's okay to be emotional and embracing the possibilities, because that's why we're on the planet. So with all that, I would invite you to join me in prayer, just closing your eyes and going within, and allow yourself to feel the vibration of love that is alive just in what has been spoken this day. Allow yourself to feel the vibration of love in this spiritual community known as Unity on the Avenue. Being led in this interim place by Dr. David Goldberg, beautiful friend, wonderful colleague. Just know that love is a verb in this community. And that if there is anything that is in need or desired to heal right in this moment, I just invite you to bring that up right now in your mind. You needn't speak it. Just know that whatever is going on in your life right now that needs to be healed, I know that there is a rush of this God Squad community that is rushing in to lift you up, to know the truth about who you are right in this moment, and that there is a vibration of healing that is at the very cell of everyone's being in this room. that if there is any situation, incident, concern, fear of COVID, any virus, any disease in this moment, that it is absolutely surrounded and healed with the light of love right in this very moment. I give thanks for this, knowing that it is not me, it is not even the words I speak, but it is that connection with the living Spirit that is alive right now in you and in me. It is allowing us to blossom, to bloom, to be that shining light. So I give thanks for this, knowing it is already done in the mind of God, and we just merely recognize it by saying together, and so it is. Amen. What do we do next? Oh, it's me. All right, conscious giving. I love conscious giving. I was part of the ministerial team when we came up with a word just like that at Mile High Church. And it's so important. You know, isn't it great that this spiritual community is still here? You know why? It's because you give. And you know, the difference that you make by giving of your gifts is just amazing. And so I invite you now, before we say this wonderful oh, yes, look at all these ways you can give money now. It doesn't say gold bullions on there, but I bet they'd take those. But you know, you can do it through online, PayPal, text. I don't even know what Vanco is. Of course, you can mail your check. I know Amazon, King Soopers, all those things. But what I'd like you to do is, if you have your gift with you, hold it over your heart. Infuse it with the loving energy that you are vibrating on this planet. And let us say this blessing together. If you need to open your eyes, you can do that. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And so it is.
Windblown and tossed, wondering where you should go. Standing at the fork of a long, long road, how will you know? And do you ever feel just a little tired? Uninspired, wondering just what path that you should take. Standing at the brink of a choice to make. But if you listen with your heart, there's a still small voice inside us all, quiet and small. Listen with your heart. Trust your soul. Your heart will guide you through darkness, you know it will show you the even though it doesn't feel like it so much. Your heart will lead you home, home where you belong. Yes, it will. It's just a matter of love and trust. Even though it feels just like you're not sure which road to take. Go on, let love lead the way. 'Cause our heart joins forces with the divine. You are love, radiant love. We're all one heart, one mind. Let that light of love shine. Listen with your heart. Ooh, trust your soul. Your heart will guide you through the darkness. You know it will. Show you the way to go. Your heart is gonna lead you home, home where you belong. Here's the best part. Your heart speaks the highest truth. God is talking right to me and you, like a whisper on the rain. God is calling out a name. Just listen. Listen with your heart. Trust your soul. There is a still small voice inside us all, quiet and small. Listen with your heart. Trust your soul. Your heart will guide you through the darkness. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
Show you which way to go. Your heart is gonna lead you home, home where we belong. Home where we belong. Sing that line with me just for fun. Home where we belong. You betcha. Can you do it one more time just for me? Home where we belong. Yeah, Freddy, you and me. Home where we belong. Home where we
That's what I call preach it, sister. Wow. I wouldn't have had to talk so long if you did that song first. No, I would have anyway, but. So I invite all the inner children, all the children that you know that aren't present, all the ones that you know around the world, and let's say this children's blessing together. Might even come up here. Oh, yes, it is. You, bless, are loved, special, and important. We see you and bless the divine being that you are. Yeah, they are the future, by the way. All of our kids, and I love this prayer of protection. We commandeered it for a recovery group at Mile High Church. Reverend Carol Wilkie did, but it's awesome. I love it. Let's say it together. The light of God surrounds us. I am that light. The love of God enfolds us. I am that love. The power of God protects us. I am that power. The presence of God watches over us. I am that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
This is for you, Unity on the Avenue, because I know you never want to leave and I never want to go, right? You have got to accentuate the positive. There you go, Freddy. Eliminate the negative. Latch on to the affirmative, but don't you mess with Mr. In between. And you've got to spread joy up to the maximum and leave a bloom right down at the minimum and have faith or pandemonium is liable to walk upon that scene. You illustrate my last remark. Jonah and the whale, Noah and the ark. Oh, what did they do just when everything seemed so dark? You know they said you gotta go on and accentuate the positive.